Sometimes when you're out in the field, you might run into a little issue. So, for instance, I want to put this backer board, this is the first purlin for the back wall. And if I line it up directly with the rafter, see how this flooring kind of comes out and how the bottom isn't even? That might present a little bit of a problem because we're going to put that first piece of what they call rat guard, that guard that the sheet metal sits on so insects and such can't get in there. And we want a nice flush fit so that we can start stacking our sheet metal. So I'm going to explain a little bit how to get past something like this. I should have all of this resolved in the shop. See, this is where we want it. That means we want this rafter to come out. So in a case like this, I will put a board, a piece of scrap, and I'll screw it temporarily to here. And then I might loosen up a couple screws like on the second purlin and the first purlin. I will use my C-clamp. I will bring that rafter out. And then now, everything's gonna fit flush. So I caught a little bit of that first purlin, so let me move this up a little bit. There we go. Perfect. And in this particular case, I had to remove the bracket, and that's why I like to use screws. But then that bracket will go up nice and tight. And then I use a pocket jig to put screws diagonally into these rafters, and you'll notice them. You don't want to drive them too far, but you'll see the existing holes where you'll be driving the screws in. And that'll be a nice flush fit. So it'll be nice to have the flooring in just a little bit, and all your sheet metal will drape right over this lower decking. Yeah, so, and then when we're all done and everything's in place, you can nail these claw-like brackets onto the back. So basically, you can't see because of the camera, but it'll hit the rafter and it'll hit the lower deck piece, and you just pound that in with a hammer. That'll give it a little more reinforcement on the front, and then you'll have this bracket, this backer L bracket, that's nailed onto the back. So sometimes in the shop, it's best to get all this stuff sorted out because when you're out in the field, that could be pretty frustrating. But that's just some of the techniques that you can use if you got to move some stuff around. Yeah. Okay, this is the first purlin on the back wall, and I just wanted to explain how I make these. So what you have here is these pocket jig style of holes. And instead of trying to drive a screw or a nail diagonally splitting the pine, I just pre-drill these. So what happens is I'll place them wherever I have a mark where I want them. And then I'll take this drill, let me find the existing hole. And I'll just drill down until I reach a predetermined depth, which I've taped this particular bit off. And these bits are cool because they have a little pilot on them, and then there's a slight bevel. So once you're all done, you have this hole, and you can screw this down to the flooring or to the rafter. Now a little tip on these, you're gonna screw these in. It just broke out a little bit, just broke out. And already had that pilot hole, so it's nice and clean. When you go in, nice and easy. See how it's spinning naturally? It's not going any further. It's right in its seat. So if this were going into the decking or another board, you could send that screw to the moon. You can send it right through this pine and it wouldn't do any good. It would just bust right out through the other side. So my suggestion is whenever you're screwing these in, nice and easy. Nice and easy. Just go down to the seat, the wooden seat. Nice and easy, and that's all you need. Because these walls, the front and back walls, aren't really structural. So they're just there as nailers. They're not holding up the building. But we want to get these straight, and this will help take any bow out of the back wall and also give you attachments for the rafter. I'll show you on these rafter ends. And that's what we just talked about as far as straightening our rafter ends to be able to accept these. So, and you can glue these if you want. That's completely up to you, but that's how that's done. So I just had you over there on the bench, and I talked about how we made these pocket screws, these angled screw pockets. So, and before that, we talked about straightening out the rafter and getting a nice flush fit along the back here. So don't be bashful as far as grabbing, you got a little twist in your board and you want it perfectly straight along the bottom. Grab a piece of scrap, run a screw into the lower decking, and put a clamp on it. That's gonna hold it nice and straight. Your siding, or I'm sorry, your flooring will be tucked up in there, so nothing's gonna be sticking out. This and the lower decking will be the furthest thing out, so you'll be able to put your sheet metal on there, and it'll drop straight down. So I'll grab some 2.5 inch screws, and I'll start the process here. Remember, go nice and easy. Get towards the end, right in the seat. Don't bust it out. You can bust it out completely. These are just to kind of hold it. I got plenty of them. Plenty of holes here to hold this thing nice and rigid. It's also going to be braced up towards the rear window. We'll put these side ones in. Got the rafter right where I want it. A little harder to get to these. Nice and seated. I don't have it coming out the back of the rafter, which is good. And just work your way along. Just touching. Now we'll end up caulking all of this, but from here on up, when we have the bracing that's going vertical, we will use these type of pieces, these type of joints and pocket screw holes to go into the rafter, to go into the vertical 2x4 supports. So this is kind of the method going forward, and we'll frame out our walls. And like I said, don't be bashful as far as using these blocks. You're not going to hurt that lower decking. You're not even going to see that screw hole. It's not going all the way through. So, and then once you take that off, it's nice and solid. I don't even have all the screws in yet.